Welcome, everybody. I'm sure there's hundreds of people waiting in the lobby right now to get into our NHL season preview. Oh, I disappeared too. Best bets for every single team. We're going to go division by team by team. We're going to go through just everything possible in as short of a time as possible. No intro video. Let's just bring Matt right in the fold. We're back, new season, back on the casting couch, but I actually put my background up. So Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I did my assigned homework. So yeah,
I got
one
close.
best bet for each team. Just full disclosure off the top. One, not financial advice. This is
Yep.
gambling, so stay within your means. Secondly, I will not be betting all of these. Just full disclosure. I'm not putting that much down on preseason stuff. So this is definitely just a fun exercise to get us through team by team. I don't know, DJ, if you feel differently, but I certainly will not be betting all of these. I will let you know when I do actually bet a couple because I did see a couple that I truly do want to bet. But yeah, just fun little exercise off the top here.
I think part of my problem with getting every single one of my bets done before we got started here is that I got stuck on certain teams, going through every last detail of every bet, and then finally being like, there's nothing here I want to bet. So like, why am I even wasting my time on this team? So we'll go through everything though. I mean, I still feel very good about a lot of the stuff I found, and some math to back it up. So I will be using the puck luck projections for the majority of this. I talked to Jay earlier. I did see if he wanted to jump on, but he actually had fantasy drafts tonight. And he has assured me that anyone that is on puck luck already, and if you're not, just follow along and maybe give it a go this year. We'll definitely be plugging it. The site should be overhauled and up and running in like the new way it's going to be by the end of October. He's hoping for it to be sooner, but I'm just going to put end of October date on there.
Yeah.
Matt, anything you want to say before we get going?
Only other thing before we get going, because yeah, team by team, we're gonna need to go quick. Is for off-season transactions and news, I will be referencing what the NHL puts out as their off-season summary. It's a really clean sort of guide. I just dropped it in the chat there. If anyone following along wants to like open it or just keep it as like a little, just keep tabs on, oh wow, it's opening night for X team. What happened? There's a little PDF with every team has one page, and it just tells you who's in, who's out. Includes front office stuff. So, you'll have everything you need as far as actual player transactions there. We're not going to cover all of it, of course, because, we're not covering every transaction, but that is there, and we will be referencing that. So it's right from the NHL, though. Really a cool resource, and I'm pretty sure it's very up to date as of like the last week or so.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that before. And when you posted it, I started looking through it, and that's yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. And it's like exactly what I've been looking for, and you found it. So
like they
cool.
don't have JVR for the to Columbus. I'm not sure when that was, a week, 2 weeks ago, but up until like the start of camp, that was pretty much updated, the best I could tell. So if we missed something, not our fault, it's the NHL's fault. All right. That was it for me. So
can I give one last caveat? Is there's gonna be a couple things I'm gonna say that are maybe optimistic that I can still bet, and some that I've already bet. So for example, I went on Underdog and was gonna, because I said I wanted to include some of like pick'em ideas because I think there's still an edge there. And the season stuff is gone, I think, as of today. And I don't know if it's coming back, and maybe it left because they posted the opening night Sabres and Devil stuff. So it might come back. I don't know, but I assume the odds are very similar. Normally they're almost identical to what's on DraftKings. So the idea will be the same, and you can check out Prize Picks. It actually won't work for me because it's no longer in New York. I don't know if it's just not working for me or whatever, but we'll get into things though. No sense in beating around the bush too long here. We're going to go alphabetical team by team right off the rip, right? Into Anaheim.
Yep. Yeah, so for Anaheim, I'm sure everyone can guess where our heads are going collectively speaking. By the way, I did shop across both FanDuel and DraftKings, those sports books. I did not look at Underdog or Prize Picks because I can't do that in my state. So, but be sure to shop around too. If you have access to other books, up in Canada, there's different stuff too. You might have different lines, you might have different, stuff available. So I'll try to cover what the odds are. I'm dealing with a pretty small sheet for 32 teams, so I didn't write down the odds for every single bet. But generally speaking, if it's not just like a standard, minus 110, minus 115 type bet, I did note the odds. But do shop around, make sure you're getting the best price, because obviously, if you're locking up money for this long, why not put in the extra 10 seconds to check another book to see if you can make an extra couple bucks on the back end of these wagers. So without further ado, Cutter Gauthier, rookie goal leader, plus 500 over on FanDuel. Come on.
You found it on,
that,
yeah. I honestly was just double checking because I haven't bet it yet. It's plus 450 on DraftKings, and that's one that I'm 100% going to put money on.
yeah.
Yeah, that rocks pretty hard. I
And if
like
you're
that a good bit.
yeah, and if you're a true sicko, the Cutter Gauthier to lead the league in shots on goal is 300 to 1. That's on, let's see.
FanDuel.
Yeah,
I
that's on
thought on
FanDuel.
FanDuel at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Um,
it.
I don't know. It certainly seems questionable that the Pasternak's to Matthews just don't have that locked up from the word go. But if he sees 19 minutes a night and he's getting Leo Carlson to feed him pucks, I don't know. Maybe you could have a sweat. He did have 18 shot attempts in his first preseason game, so he's on pace if he keeps that up to 300 to 1 is a bargain if he keeps that up.
Yeah, holy crap. He's winning by a bazillion. I mean, mine's the same. I think there's probably other bets that I'm just not getting around to. Like, I think an under on Zegras is probably even sharper. But there, like, to me, I do think this is, one of the best bets on the entire board, just because this is what he does. Like, he scores goals. He's in the position to score goals. He's not on a team that's as bad as Macklin Celebrini, who is also probably hurt. And your only real competition would seemingly be Logan Stankoven. And I do think that's actual competition, but Logan Stankoven is nearly never on power play one. I mean, like, even if there's an injury, I don't know when he jumps in. So I really think you're getting pretty crazy odds on a guy that's kind of built to score goals. Not a ton else on Anaheim. I don't think they're going to be great, but whatever. Like, they'll score goals. It'll be fun.
And I mean on Cutter, the Calder odds have moved a bit. He's 11 to 1 to win the Calder. I don't hate that. He was in the plus 700 range before, where he was tied with Macklin and Stankoven, and Michkov has moved up the plus 300. So since the last time I looked, so I think taking a little longer odds. If Cutter Gauthier leads the goal scoring race, he's going to have a chance to win the Calder for sure. But because of his profile, I think taking the shorter odds at 5 to 1 is just a better bet altogether. So
I don't think I have this on FanDuel because I only have season leaders, shots on goal. I don't see rookie. I'm just gonna have to look around more. I don't see rookie goals anywhere.
I mean, it's very possible that things are different by state. For example, I opened up the DraftKings Sportsbook today and looked at player points and single game parlays. And last year, I couldn't do anything besides, the over and the money line. Those are the single game parlays I could do. Now I have the full suite of, I did a Jack Quinn over 1.5 shots and a point in the Friday game for the Sabres. And I could do that. And, so things change, things are evolving. But yeah, I can confirm that I still have the whatchamacallit.
Yeah, the FanDuel thing. Yeah, I have it on DraftKings. It's plus. I have the shot leader I could find. I can't find the rookie goal leader. I'm gonna try it on my computer. I'm just gonna just don't worry about that. Who cares? It's there. You'll find it, shop it, have fun, good stuff. I'll get to a bet that I'm not gonna place. I don't think there's anything on Boston that I'm actually finding to be a big edge. If you got to the Swayman thing early enough, that probably was smart. It's long gone. The only thing you can bet for Jeremy Swayman is to lead the NHL in wins, which is never anything I was gonna bet. Other than that, I think that Pasternak, I think at least projects to be maybe something, but I do think you're basically saying that he has one of his best seasons getting to 50 goals. Like, he's having one of those years on top of not getting hurt. There's just a lot that kind of has to go right anyways. I think the only bet that I truly like is them under 99.5 points as a team. Last year and the year before, we were singing a different tune. I know 2 years ago when they went absolutely nuclear, I was sort of like This team is not as bad as people think. And last year I was like, this team is not as bad as people think. And this year I still think they're not as bad as maybe some people are starting to get to, but I don't know if this team is a 100-point team. And I think it's not a big enough of an edge to say, like, let's go out and bet it. But yeah, I don't think it's I think if you're going to bet on anything for the Bruins because you have to, you're probably not going to go out and bet an under on their point total. So this is probably just a long way of saying I got nothing. So Matt, I'll pass it to you, and I'll look up the thing I had, but then I don't have up right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty I'm pretty bullish on Elias Lindholm just as a player, like relative to how he performed last year for sure. Um, so like I think David Pasternak's a pretty good bet. Something I noticed, I did some of this on Monday night actually, so these things could have moved, but there was a huge gap in Pasternak's point prop on FanDuel versus DraftKings. So I think on DK it's like 107, and on FanDuel it's 101. So, I certainly like the over on David Pastrnak. So if I'm going to bet it, I'm going to go on to FanDuel and get that 101 number. I think it's over 101 and a half on Pasta. But yeah, he's just an all world dominator. Like he's so good, the without a doubt number 4 pick in best puck. And he is miles behind, the McDavid McKinnon alliance as they are currently posted. And I think that Elias Lindholm, really does give him a boost. So anything else there?
No, I was just trying to pull up what Dom had for Boston, and it's made me log in, and I logged in, and now I can't freaking find it. I thought he had like 96 or something, but I can't find it. Did you look at that? I didn't bet any of his stuff, but like I needed confirmation bias.
The only thing I looked at was puck luck for some of it.
Yeah.
Puck luck has Pasta at 106.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying for Boston's like actual. Maybe they didn't post it. They haven't posted. What the heck? All right, I'm just done looking. I'm done looking.
Oh, are you looking? You're not talking about Pasta. Okay.
No, I agree. Again, like that's the thing is like I think Pasta is fine, but like you're locking up money on what again to me like I don't know if it's big enough of an edge on his. I think you're right though. Like the way I would do it if I was going to do it is to say I'm thinking Lindholm and Pastrnak in a slip and a pick 'em. Like if I think Pasternak's getting there, Lindholm's getting there, and that way you're not, you can actually do that on Underdog and Prize Picks probably. And in that case, I'm saying okay, fine. Like, yeah, I think that like now I'm getting capturing enough upside, and like the edge is. You see what I mean? Found the article finally, but yeah, I think that like without that, I'm just not all that worried. All right, what does Dom have? I don't think he has it as a bet is the problem, which is why I'm not finding it easily, is that he doesn't think you should bet it either way. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a big enough edge for him. So it's not here, and therefore.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't scroll Twitter incessantly for 3 months of the off season just to then follow some model and, base my bets on that. So I'm really trying not to be swayed by those types of things because, frankly, hockey's that there's so many links and things to consider with the sport that like obviously models are cool and whatnot, but like at some point if I'm going to be putting this money down, I'm only looking for confirmation bias. So
yeah, but we can move to a bet that I'm actually making then. I mean, we've already made one bet on the Sabres, and this is our Homer Sabres bet of Lindy Ruff to win the Jack Adams. I think it was 25-1. I think anyone that wants to bet on the Sabres, the boldest case, that's the bet. So I found something else. Is that your bet here? I just want to pass it to you and see what you have.
I wrote down JJ Peterka over 25.5 goals.
Okay, so I was the debate I was having over goals versus points, and I ended up landing on points. Myself over 53.5. Just I definitely get where you're coming from. I worry about his role on the power play not leading to as many goals as it could assists. Like I was, my theory again, and puck luck does back it up pretty. The number that we have I think is 67. My theory is that he is going to play more of the Cousins role, and the Cousins role was often moving the puck through to others to shoot. And I wonder with Tage, I don't know. It's gonna be. It's again. It's a lot of like I don't know, and what I do know is that he's in an optimal spot to get
No,
points.
I hard disagree. They're using Jack Quinn on the perimeter on the power play, so interior guys tend to be more the goal scorers. Obviously, Tage is going to score goals. Jack Quinn can shoot and score, but like
Yeah.
Alex Tuck doesn't touch the puck on the power play unless it's a rebound type deal, or a pass to him to score. And in the Jeff Skinner role, he's basically anti-Braden Point, where he's facing Tage Thompson with his handedness. He's on the interior. Doesn't really matter. I'll be honest. The reason
Yeah.
I like this a little bit is because I was looking at the Friday game actually, and so if I told you Tage Thompson's odds to get a point are minus 150, I think on the yes. What do you think Alex Tuck is at?
To get a point in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you're setting me up for him to be like minus 120 or some garbage. Like, I don't know.
So Darlene is minus 105 to get a point,
Okay.
which is interesting.
So
what does that make you think on Alex Tuck?
I'm guessing he's like the same as Tage then, plus 150. They're going to be right identical, and then because he'd be like plus.
He's minus 167. Why is Alex Tuck more likely to get a point than So it made me think: am I just wrong? Like Alex Tuck obviously when he came to Buffalo was like this incredible play driver, whatever, like up and down the ice, and it made me think like at 5-on-5. Alex Tuck's probably not scoring the goals. Obviously, Tage can, but like, I don't know. JJ put up how many last year, and he didn't have this role at all.
Yeah,
I
like both. I was wavering between both. I may actually I think as far as all of the bets, again, I think if you took every single bet that's listed, oh my god, I might just get rid of this background. It's annoying me. But every single bet that's listed, I think that the both Bashirka bets would be up there in the top 10 percentile of good overs to bet.
Yeah, JJ had 28 last year and did not have this role.
I might bet both. I truly I think that he is actually, and this is again, I think in every other sport, this stuff comes through in droves where it's this is this is our young player coming in, breakout wide receivers, etc. And then hockey, it's we're just gonna copy and paste what he did last year. Thank you very much. We're moving on. It's not how it ever happens. So I think both of these again are actually in the top 10 percentile probably of the entire board, if not better.
In theory, you're gonna want to take unders on a lot of players because frankly that's the side that's always no one wants to bet an under on especially these season long shit. So it's an interesting predicament to find yourself in, which is frankly why I don't really want to bet a lot of these myself, because I'm putting in 10 times the volume in a given week at most, or at minimum, on DFS and whatnot. So why tie up for that long, so on and so forth. You're probably best off seeking the unders that we talk about. But anyway, let's keep things moving. Carolina, Sebastian Aho. I just think, the line is right at what he's done for the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure he's 36, 36, 37 in the last 3 years as far as goal scoring. They signed Shane Gostisbehere. They lost Pesci and Shea. Couldn't think of how to say SKJ in my head. So defensively, their power play sort of gets a makeover. Brent Burns' season is over. Sebastian Aho, I made this argument in the Discord. I won't spend too much digging into it. You can just search my name in the Discord and Aho, and it just pops up. But there are 6 levers that I could see pulling to just get him better than he was last year. There's a lot of time on ice available. I mean, their third center is Jordan Stahl. Their second center is Kokiniemi. Sebastian Aho in a just world would play 21, 22 minutes a night. He does not. He plays 18. So that could change. That's not going down. That could definitely go up. However, there was some oddity in his point percentage and how much of the power play share he had last year. Despite the power play being pretty good, his production, I believe, was a bit lower than you might expect. So, he already did this the last 3 years. Yes, he needs to stay healthy, but you could also crank any of the other dials and get him to 40 goals without too much of a sweat. So I like the Aho over 35.5.
Yeah, I would first off say that again, I had the idea here of like this would be better on prize picks, it'd be better on underdog because I like that. But almost again, I did just was looking at Paterka. Let's talk about a 22-year-old who will be 23 on February 1st. Last year had 67 points.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Why are we still talking about Buffalo?
No, because I'm saying let's talk about a different player on Carolina. And I'm saying I'm equating him to JJ Paterka and the bet we just made. And this player is 22 years old. He's coming up a 67-point season where he had 33 goals, and he's going to be glued to Sebastian Aho, and it's Seth Jarvis. For some reason, the sportsbook said, I see what you did last year. I see that you're now completely cemented top line, top power play, and it's 62.5 for points. I could argue that the goals are fine as well. I honestly didn't write it down. I think it was lower. It was like 20. I don't know, whatever. I'll look it up in a second. The point of all of this is that both of these bets are very similar in their kind of makeup. They can be increased. I think it's harder to say, I know for a fact that Paterka is going to correlate the best with this bet. It would probably be Darlene, which is a weird thing to do. Whereas I know if I like Aho a lot, which I do, Jarvis is going to be the biggest beneficiary of Aho getting there, which is why I think that this is a smash if you can find it as like a bring it together. If you're leaning with Matt and you say, yep, puck luck's also right, 40 goals for Sebastian Aho, I think you just take Jarvis points. We have him at 79, and the sports books have him at, I already said it, but it's 62.5. That's the kind of edge I'm willing to bet, and that's also the kind of correlation that I think is how you actually like make money on these long of props is taking them both together. Any thoughts on that? And then I guess conversely, I think every other under on Carolina's good. Like, I don't think they're going to be an incredibly I think other than those two players, they're going to be pretty boring. I'm nervous enough about Svechnikov to actually really start to consider the under. I didn't write it down because I just think Jarvis is just a better bet regardless, because it doesn't seem like they're going to be putting Svechnikov with Aho. I don't know if I feel strong enough about it to say I'm abandoning the former second overall pick and a guy that could definitely pot 30 without too much of an issue. I guess the thing about the bet against Svechnikov is we have him for 63 and he's 64.5. So what's the point? But I do think like most of the other players in Carolina are pretty boring.
Okay. We are through 4 teams. It has been 23 minutes. We're on pace for a 3-hour podcast. So Chicago, it's easier to recap their offseason by saying who remains on the team versus who they signed. So who remains on the team? Connor Bedard, Seth Jones. Everyone else is pretty much brand new. So the two things I found around Connor Bedard, because of course, over 34.5 on FanDuel, and then 85-1 Rocket Richard on FanDuel. Now you might say, oh, these awards are juiced. Maybe they are. I didn't run through all the how much juice there is, but I noticed it wasn't weird. It was different between FanDuel and DraftKings, but not just like DK is always better or FanDuel is always better. And on DK, Bedard is 40-1 for the Rocket. And again, on FanDuel, he's 85-1. I think there's another example of this, but in the other direction. I think it might have been Saros. It was it was Dougie Hamilton, I think. On DK, it was like 75-1 for the Norris. And on FanDuel, he was like 40. So I don't know how they're pricing it, but there are actually huge differences. Now, percentage-wise, it's 1 versus 2%, but multiplication wise, that's a huge difference. So getting Bedard at those odds honestly feels really good. It's not likely, but yeah, is it 2%? Probably. And you're getting 85-1. So he could just be an absolute smash this year.
I definitely at some point would like to get on Bedard at the right moment. I truly don't think his odds are very good for anything. Oh my God, everything is just broken. I found Tyler Bertuzzi for 20 goals and I liked it. And now I can't find the odds and I just can't even get into this stupid sports book and find it. They had him for 20 goals.
He is minus 165 on FanDuel for over 20 goals.
I didn't hate that. I did not hate that. I think that that's probably what I would do, just because if you think Bedard is going to get anywhere even near that 80-point mark, someone's coming along for the ride, and you could go with either Teravainen or Bertuzzi. And again, like it's not fun, but like I think that's actually solid enough. Any thoughts on that? We could just move on. I don't think I'm going to bet it. We have for 25, so I thought that was like not huge, but whatever.
Josh is cooking in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing about Bedard is that yes, he's going to elevate the team around him, but he profiles as a guy who's literally going to do it all himself. Like, trust me, I like Tyler Bertuzzi. I've been taking him in best puck when I get Bedard, so on and so forth. But like, there's nothing saying that if Bedard has a smash season, Tyler Bertuzzi's doing anything. And that's not an indictment of Tyler Bertuzzi, even though you certainly could make that argument that, there's no guarantee Tyler Bertuzzi does anything anyway if he gets a bunch of ice time. But like Connor Bedard's just not going to be the player who's, dependent on someone else finishing for him to have a smash type season. Because Bedard will just do it himself. Like that's his profile. So I don't love it, getting minus odds on
I know.
Like
it's fine. I mean, we don't want to go too long here. I think that him or Teravainen, Teravainen is plus 115. Honestly, I think I could consider either of them. I just think Bertuzzi will shoot more, but yeah, I'm not going to bet it. So let's just move on.
I think with those marks, those markets, be careful. Obviously the awards too, but like anything where you can't bet the no or like the under on it, you're almost certainly getting cooked. So be really, really careful. That's my primary concern is I look at those markets and I think I'm getting absolutely screwed here. And then you say the name Tyler Bertuzzi and I'm like, that's not very exciting. So, it's a bet on Bedard nonetheless being the best. All right. Colorado. Not a ton has changed as far as the team that they have. Now, there's a ton of uncertainty about those players, with Landeskog, Nichushkin, and Lehkonen having some aspect of injury. So I'll just take a swing on Jonathan Jewin, not because I think he's a great median bet, but because 80 plus points is 12-1. If you're telling me Mikko Rantanen doesn't play on that top line and McKinnon has a great year, I think Jonathan Drouin has a puncher's chance at 80 points. Getting 12-1, it feels all right to me. I don't love it, but that's the hand we're dealt.
Yeah, I think I'm just going with a Mikko Rantanen bet. I am gonna look, and I couldn't find it before, but I think I'm gonna bet him to. Well, I'm in the casting couch, Josh, so my internet is better. But I think I'm going to try to find Mikko to win the Central in goal scoring. I didn't find it before we started. I don't think it's offered yet, but that came up right before the season launched last year, and it was one of my best sweats that I had going. I think that he's just a better goal scorer than McKinnon, and it's probably down to him, Forsberg, and Connor. I think he's going to end up. I just don't think his odds going to be very good, so that's where I'm going to lean. And then I guess additionally, I've said it, but I'm going to say it again. Like I'm betting on Cale Makar and best puck down the stretch. My 5 more drafts are probably going to do when we close up shop here tonight. I'm betting on him being in one of potentially a difference maker in the best puck playoffs that could get you to the finals. I'm not going to say he's on the winning team or not, but I think he's a little undervalued in best puck. So I'm going to grab some more of him. And you might be, again, like I putting 25, 50 bucks on some of these bets, and I'm going to put a lot more on Cale Makar. So but we can keep it moving because it's funny how good Colorado is and how it's kind of a cooked board. Like I don't think there's anything here. I was actually shocked because I was going to say under on McKinnon. I was like, what they had met like 52 goals and they had met like 44. And I'm like, they know it's not happening again, but we can get over to Dallas. Not getting too bold myself, but I feel like you're gonna get mad at my bet. So I'll let you go first.
We skipped not one, but 2 teams to start with the C. So
we did skip. Well, I see we skipped. Oh, we skipped 2. Holy crap.
We skipped Calgary because I sorted them by their abbreviation. And then I skipped Columbus because that was the next. They were not next on the NHL page. So anyway, let's just do Columbus, whatever. The offseason was another horrible offseason for Columbus. Second time in I think 3 years they've literally lost a player. You just can't foresee anything like that happening. we talked about this for Best Puck. I'm not really interested in anything there. Loss of Gaudreau is just too great offensively. Now they did bring in Sean Monahan. They lost Patrick Laine to a trade. So like there is a vacuum there to fill. And so I don't see any bets or anything like that. But a guy who I'm at least going to be betting on early in the DFS season is Kent Johnson. Seems like he's the guy who's going to try to shoulder the load that Johnny Gaudreau carried offensively for that team. And it's at least worth noting that last year in the AHL, he took a huge step forward in terms of both his point production and his shot rate. He was nearly 3 shots a game in the AHL, and in college, he didn't really profile as a shooter. He was much, obviously a very good playmaker, but he also took that playmaking to another level last year in the AHL. Now he was there because he really struggled at the NHL level, but that's a guy who at least I'm betting on in DFS early on.
Yeah. I honestly, I went the same angle because number one, there's not many bets on the board for this team in general. I went with Chinikov though. He seems to be on the top power play and has I think a better propensity to at least score and actually find the peak. I think he'll be with Cole Sillinger, who I actually think is a really good player. Like I think that's a very underrated player in general, maybe not as fantasy relevant. So if that power play sticks and we see Werenski out there with Chinikov, like I think that's a guy that could be, 2,900, 3,500 to kick off the season. And a guy I'll be betting on in DFS to kind of be my down the line guys. And I think that's a lot of times how I, find my punts is not to take a play. What?
You think Chinikov will be how much?
3,500.
He's going to be at least 5K. I think Kent Johnson will be like 3,500. Like that's why I'm,
okay, fine. You're right and I'm wrong.
Chinikov ended the year at like 5,800. Like he didn't sneak by anyone in a DFS last year. So
all right, well,
yeah,
maybe I'll be betting on him if he's 6K. I'm not, but we'll find out the hard way. But yeah, I think that's about that. We skipped the Flames, and I know we have the same bet here. So
yeah.
This is one that I will be putting money on for sure. I will let you take the floor.
Sure. So the Flames in the offseason, who cares? They're terrible. On that note, they traded away Jacob Markstrom, leaving a huge opportunity in net. People are racing to the conclusion that it's Dustin Wolf's job to lose. Unfortunately, we have no confirmation that that's actually the case. All the offseason chatter, all the camp that I've seen is at worst, Dan Vladar is the 1A, if not just a straight up number 1 in goal for Calgary. So I like Dustin Wolf under 21.5 wins. Even if he is the number 1 starter and he plays 55 games, this team is horrible. Like they have 5 players. Like the only argument you can make is that their decor is maybe okay, but their forwards have absolutely nothing to to offer. So yeah, even if Dustin Wolf gets that full starters workload, I think 22 wins would be a really tough task anyway. So I think he gets 30, 35 starts at maximum, and it's just a slam dunk. This is one that I will actually be putting my hard-earned US dollars on.
Yeah, I take the puck luck projection of 45 starts and it's 18 wins, and I just think that that's very bullish on what we assumed was going to happen and what everyone assumed was going to happen. But they paid him pennies and they went out and got Devin Cooley, who, while his quotes are morbid, make you believe that he's on this. They got him because they think he's a player and he wants to prove to them he can play. Like I think they're going to run 3 goalies. I think Vladar is the 1A, and therefore I think that he is going to see the closer to the 45 games, and all of a sudden you're out. I think if Dustin Wolf started 23 to 20 or 25 games, I think if he started 25 games, I'd be a bit surprised. Like that's about the number I'd have him at. So he needs to win 22 of those. No. If you miss the Columbus play, it's just we're going to be playing cheap guys in DFS for them. I don't. There's barely anything on the board. I mean, I think the only player I don't even remember who I found. It doesn't honestly, and I think that this is a good point to just make is that some of these players you'll find on FanDuel for that 20 plus goals, and those odds are actually cooked. I mean, completely and totally cooked. Almost, they're nonsensical, most of them. So, like, if the player isn't actually getting an over under at all, it's probably a fool's errand. And I just think that Columbus has nothing to really swing at.
Yeah. I have a couple of like team-based props, but I didn't have anything on Columbus I liked. I did look because when I couldn't find a player, I looked at the
Yep.
team stuff. There was just nothing that I
It's like
felt
66 and a
confident
half
in,
points.
so.
And it's just like, yeah, again, I feel like you're kind of splitting hairs there. It's like,
Yeah.
I kind of, I
All
don't
right.
know. If you're going to bet the under on that, just bet them to be the worst team in the league at like 3-1. It's not a big deal. Like, if you think, if they're getting 60 points, they're probably hitting that. So, but
Have
again, I'm
fun.
not going to sit here and say that. Have fun. We
All
can
right.
move on.
On to Dallas, where they did lose Joe Pavelski to retirement. Now, fortunately for them, the next Wyatt Johnston just appears out of nowhere in Maverick
Logan
Bork.
Stanko. Oh, Maverick Bork.
Well,
So,
Stankoven is, maybe even I don't know if I think he might be a better pedigree prospect than Johnston, but obviously the production is nowhere close so far. But yeah, so Maverick Bork as a third line center, just shove Stankoven or Johnston up to that Joe Pavelski role, you're probably not losing a ton. What I found on Dallas that was interesting was Miro Heiskanen was 13-1 to win the Norris. He feels like a guy who has just been, his name has already been carved in the trophy. They're just waiting for the year to give it to him. And this year certainly could be that year. Did I say Norris? Obviously, you know which one it is, but yeah, he's 13-1 for the Norris on FanDuel, and I think it's like 7-1 on DK. So again, just shopping for value, but I do like those odds.
yeah. I was sitting there doing the same thing with my bet, but not the same player. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? Puckluck has Wyatt Johnston for 79 points. I think he's on that top line now with Hintz and Jason Robertson. That seems like what they want to do. If Robertson seems back, top power play seems like it could be there. We know what he can do at 5-on-5 if they actually give him that role. And I said, what is he for 80 points? I want you to just, I'm not even going to make you guess. Let's keep this moving. But on DraftKings, it was plus 115. And on FanDuel, it was plus 250 for 80 points. And I think it's almost a coin flip. Like, I'm grabbing Johnston plus 250 on FanDuel. I'm actually going to make that bet. It's a big enough difference. And I actually think that that's like a projectable edge. I'd like to bet on those types of players, the younger players that are getting bigger roles that have already shown they can do it. Like, what are we doing here? If he stays healthy, I think that that's very likely to hit. So, and I think you can parlay it, but I just don't think you can parlay it with, let me just try it really quick. Let's just click on
I
Rupert
couldn't do things like that parlayed. Okay. Yeah.
But like you can parlay it with, maybe you can't. What the heck? I parlayed it. Let me parlay a couple other bets I had down the line together, but not this one. I think they have to be the same thing. Hold on. Let me just, anything else you want to say on what I just said? And I'll
sure. For Wyatt, he played 82 games last year in a third line second power play role and had 65 points. Now, yes, he played 82 games. That's not a given this year, of course. But, talking about the acceleration into just a straight up Joe Pavelski role, where I believe last year or 2 years ago, a 38-year-old Joe Pavelski, I think, had 80 points. He might have had like 78 or something, but he was somewhere in that point per game range, shockingly. Yeah, I think Wyatt could easily do that. So the difference there is probably big enough that even if, for example, DK's raking the hell out of it, like, the difference over the FanDuel is probably not that big. So, you find some comfort in line shopping there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the saving grace on this bet because, yeah, I mean, I whatever. I gave enough detail, I think, and again, that's definitely the guys I try to bet on. Over to Detroit, I do believe I have it
on
under
to the Yzer plan. We have a plan. It's going to take me 6 years to figure out what the hell it is, but
it's that he's a donkey. He's not good at his job, and no one else seemingly call him out on it, except for the true alphas like us who. I was kidding. All right, what are you gonna? I'll let you get to your bet.
Yeah, they lost Daniel Sprong, so obviously take the under on their season long, points and everything else. Because once you lose Daniel Sprong, your team goes to shit. I don't actually know that. I would need to look at every team he's departed so far. But in reality, they didn't really do much. They added Vladimir Tarasenko. They re-signed Patrick Kane. They didn't really do a ton, but they did bring in Cam Talbot, who has a line on the sports book, and we think he's the starter, but they literally have 4 goalies who should get games this year, and the line is 21 and a half wins for Cam Talbot in the year of our Lord 2024. Just easy under. I don't know. It's a bet against the team. It's a bet against uncertain goalie situations. Much like Dustin Wolf, doesn't really have anything to do with the goalie, though in this case, Cam Talbot, I think, kind of sucks. We'll see with Darcy Kemper in LA, but I'm pretty sure it was just an LA thing for Cam Talbot. But yeah, what do you think?
I actually had 2 unders that I circled here, and that was one of them because I believe, 1 Cam Talbot share in best puck out of 150, and I will not be getting any more unless if he falls to, like, I don't even know, 160 or something. And I also like the under on Patrick Kane, honestly. I think I've fully come around on it. Under 66.5, not with Larkin, Raymond, or DeBrincat at 5-on-5. I don't even think he's potentially on the top power play as of now. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if I'm, jamming this one because I think the Talbot one's even better. Like, again, if you were picking between the two, I think Talbot under is sharper. I do think under 66.5 is pretty bold. And I get that last year he was on nearly a point per game pace and yada, yada. But what are the odds this guy plays 82 games? What are the odds he plays 70 games? He is 35. He's battled a ton of injuries. Even if he doesn't miss time, I think that's a pretty lofty goal for him to get to almost 70 points. So I think both those unders are really sharp.
That is very fair. I have no further comment. I like your arguments. So in the interest of time, let's get over to Edmonton. Edmonton, obviously losing the Stanley Cup in the fashion they did was heartbreaking. They had a lot of turnover for a team that was, basically a goal away. I don't think it quite ended up. I can't remember Game 7 anymore. That was like 7 years ago. But in any case, out the door go Broberg and Holloway. Somewhat famously, they shipped off Cody Ceci. Their list of departures: Vinny Desharnais, Warren Fogle. Jesus, like Ryan McLeod, my guy, Ryan McLeod. How do you get rid of Ryan McLeod? I don't know. But yeah, they brought in Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, and Vasily Podkolzin as sort of their guys up front. I'm just going to stick to the basics here because I noticed there was a huge discrepancy in Connor McDavid's goals. If you like the under on DK, again, about minus 115 on both, it's 48.5. And if you like the over on FanDuel, it's 42.5. You could even bet both and try and middle it. If he finishes with 45, you win both. So I might do that just for a bit of fun. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting, bet on McDavid. However you feel about him, I'm not sure which way I lean, but having a 6-goal gap to fit in is awfully interesting. We don't see it much.
I did not notice that either because I was going to consider his goal bet on an over, and I looked on DraftKings and I was like, that's a bit too steep for me. And then I just decided if I'm going to bet on McDavid to do anything of what his odds are to do, why not just take it for the Art Ross at minus 140? Just move on with your day. I was going to shop that around. I just grabbed the first line and moved on because I didn't know if it was better anywhere else because I've never seen it offered to me in New York until today. And I'm not even sure if I can place it. I saw minus 160 and minus 140. And I said, minus 140 is fine by me. If he stays healthy, he probably wins. He didn't win it last year. So he's going to win it this year. I just, again, like you could look at that bet in 3 months and it could be minus 500. That bet could be minus 1,000 by the turn of the year. Like if he gets hurt, you're fucked. But if he stays healthy, you're probably winning that bet. And I just think he'll probably stay healthy. That's what the odds are basically at minus 140. So yeah, I think if I'm betting on him, I'm just taking that. If he gets 50 goals, if he gets 150 points, that means, yeah. Matt, any thoughts?
No. let's just keep it going on into Florida. I got to get real close to my notes here because I had to write really small for this one. But there is a team special for the Florida Panthers, your reigning Stanley Cup champions. They did not change much this offseason. So they lost Montour. They lost who the hell else? Someone else. They lost Ekman Larson to decent sized contracts, I guess. But otherwise, most of the gang is still here. And I saw that on DraftKings there is a team special, and most of these looked like utter garbage. Not gonna lie. But let me just make sure it's still there because Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart to combine for 80 plus goals was plus 220. Yeah, you're betting on two guys getting a bunch of goals, but I mean, Reinhart scored 50 last year. They're going to play together with Alex Barkov, as we talked about last night, like one of the best playmakers in the entire NHL. They're on a power play that's really good. Adam Boqvist probably isn't stealing too many goals. I feel really strong about that. You know, if both those guys even play 70 games, that feels like a really good bet to me. Just betting on two alphas to plus 220 to get 80 goals between the two of them.
You have certainly put yourself into exactly what I bet territory. We didn't converse any of these beforehand. 5-1 Carter Verhaeghe to score 40 plus goals on FanDuel.
Okay.
He's done it without having Barkov and Reinhart as his line mates, and truly at the time when he did it, not even 100% of the power play run. Now he does. Now he has all of that and more. I think Reinhardt's a really gifted playmaker as well as a goal scorer. I almost worry only about Reinhardt in the sense of teams can't let him keep getting away with this. I know that power play is so incredibly good at hockey, just as a combination that, like, how can you possibly cover everyone? But like, if a few of those goals swing to, I think, was a potentially a better shot than Reinhardt, a guy like Carter Verhaeghe, that 40 seems like quite an easy number. And it's 4-1 on DraftKings, 5-1 on FanDuel. I hate the book, but unfortunately that's enough for me to say, here's a couple more shekels to you guys. Yeah, I love Verhaeghe. And I guess just to say the number that we have is 44 on puckluck.com. So it's not even like we're projecting it to happen. So, and I get 5-1.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I might like that better than the one I said. I'll need to think about it.
I don't know if anyone's watching. My face just smiles so big, just like, man, we really just came together on that one too. Yeah, that's a fun one. Definitely will be, again, that one I'm 100% betting because I love the player.
Another goalie wins. I think Bob under 32.5 is a decent bet. Spencer Knight is back. It seems like he's, healthy, done whatever he needed to in the player assistance program. So I feel it's very unlikely that Bob truly gets a massive workload after the playoffs run he had last year. He's an older goalie. He played a bunch of games last year and in the playoffs. I'm a little leery that 32.5 just feels like a big number, even for a team that I suspect will be pretty good again. So I think Spencer Knight could eat into that workload. Maybe it goes 50 starts and 32 starts. I would not be surprised whatsoever. And again, 33 wins is a big number for any goalie. But for Bob, given all the context, I think the under there is another good bet. But that's one of the only teams I had two bets that I really couldn't choose between. All right.
That's
anything
fine.
else?
Nope.
LA Kings.
I mean,
yes.
The King.
LA Kings lose Victor Arvidsson. They lose Pierre-Luc Dubois. They bring in one Mr. Darcy Kemper, my best puck savior this year, I hope. They also signed Tanner Jeannot, Warren Fogle, and most critically, they lost Drew Doughty to an injury for at least the first few months of the regular season. With all that in mind, DJ, I want to have the hammer here, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, the thing is that I truly couldn't pick between all of every Kevin Fiala bet just came up to I'm going to bet it. I don't know if it's quite as good as Paterka. So it's hard for me to say. I remember, and again, I think this is one of the best notes, and these are the types of things people come for, is the power play usage being so incredibly invaluable. So with that being said, I was looking at points in general, and I went to, I believe, let me just find it again because I didn't write down the odds, but I went to 80 points was plus 190, and 90 points I think was like 6-1 on FanDuel, and I didn't shop it on DraftKings. I was just sort of assuming at this point that it was always be better on FanDuel. Uh, yeah, 5.5-1 for 90 points. I was kind of between the two. I think I like 80 a little bit more. Just a little bit more added safety. We have them for 85. Kind of think it's like you're almost getting 2-1 there. I'd take it. So yeah, what are you gonna say?
So a stat that I really couldn't believe is that when you look at Kevin Fiala, who is a great player, like there's no doubting that in Minnesota he was really talented. Obviously, in Nashville he was too, but like Minnesota, he really took off, and he was also very good in LA. I didn't realize just how good he was, and maybe part of this is the teams that he was playing on and how much he was asked to do. But when you sort the league over the past, however many years, I have 5 on Natural Stat Trick, but basically dating back for the last 5 years, and you look at regulars on the power play, Kevin Fiala in Minnesota was based on the share of power play points that he had, or power play goals that he had a point on, was 3rd in the NHL. I was like, oh, he couldn't carry that into LA, right? He's 4th. It is remarkable just how involved in the power play Kevin Fiala is. I'm a big believer in this Kings team. I think the narrative around them is really flawed based on the hilarious playoff exits that they've made. Like, it's really tough for them that they run into the Oilers every year. Like, but they're the Oilers. This is a regular season. Kevin Fiala to lead the league in power play points is 150-1. And yes, that obviously means the Kings need to put up a top 3 power play in the league. But if they do, he is instrumental to running a power play, and that has been consistent for like 5 years now, if not longer. So I was stunned to see those stats. This is obviously a bet on the Kings themselves more than it is a bet on Fiala. But power play points, stat leader on DK, 150-1, Kevin Fiala. I really like that, just as you're 1%er.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try to find that same bet. FanDuel's. I truly don't know if there's ever been an app in the history of the world that doesn't work like FanDuel. It just keeps saying, "Yeah, I need to log back on." I log on and it works, and then 2 seconds later, it's like you're not logged in. Okay, we'll just keep it moving though.
Let me I want to just, because I was trying to load this while I was talking. Yeah, we can keep it moving in like 30 seconds. I just want to show Natural Stat Trick. All right. Is this the right Natural Stat Trick? Yeah. So, just like look at these names up here. As far as when you sort by power play point percentage, dating back to 2019, Nikita Kucherov in Tampa, Connor McDavid in Edmonton, Patrick Kane in Chicago. He's not there anymore. Kevin Fiala. Like, what the heck is this? Kaprizov, Gaudreau, Nick Ehlers, hilariously enough, Huberdeau, McCann. Like, there's a lot of really good players up here, players that you think drive their power plays. I just never suspected Kevin Fiala was this guy, and he's done it twice for 2 different teams. Like, it's really stunning. I couldn't really believe it when I came across it. So for a team I'm betting on being just really good this year in the Kings, I'm happy to take some long odds on Mr. Kevin Fiala. But yeah, Natural Stat Trick is great. Okay. Minnesota.
Yep. Yeah, I honestly, I was pulled this comment up quickly. I for some reason pretty much forgot about Kaprizov in the Central too, about that rant and bet. But I'll just use that as my segue to say that if I'm betting on Kaprizov and I didn't shop the odds, so I'm going to shop them. I honestly think he's like 15-20-1 to win the Rocket. I think that's where I honestly bet him. Just like if Austin Matthews misses time or whatever, like I think Kaprizov is I think he could lead goals. I mean, that's just how good of a player I think he is and how he gets to where he gets to. And like, I think if you get it closer to 20-1, I might put a couple dollars down on that.
Don't hate it. As far as the team level, this is one where I just thought the odds were a little misaligned. I like Minnesota to win the Central at 10-1. I get it; it's not the most likely outcome, but I don't know.
Sounds like 1 in 10.
Nashville is not. I don't think Nashville's a huge threat here, and they're like far significantly better odds. Obviously, Dallas is going to be a threat, but there's a real chance that if Colorado just loses one piece between McKinnon or Makar, with all their injuries, with all their uncertainty, it's hard for me to see them, being a lock at the top. So getting 10-1 on a Minnesota team led by Kaprizov, who is a bona fide superstar, with Jared Spurgeon back in the lineup, that gives them a really good top four defensively. Yeah, I think there's a real chance that Minnesota just, plays really great defense and sort of LA Kings their way to, 105 points, and that's enough to win the division. And by the way, that's 70 plus 750 on FanDuel, so you're getting a pretty good value on DK at 10-1.
Yeah, wait, no, the odds, it was Kaprizov. I mean, what I wrote down was Kaprizov Rocket 15-1.
What?
Am I stupid? Did I write the wrong thing down? Kaprizov. Because I'm about to bet it right now. Yeah, Rocket
What the
Richard
hell
winner
are you
Kaprizov,
talking about?
15-1.
Are you continuing
Rocket.
the conversation you were having with yourself before I started talking?
No, isn't that what you were saying? He's plus 750 on FanDuel?
What? No, I spent like 3.5 minutes talking about the Wild to win their division.
Yeah, I know, I heard that. But then you talked about him being a bona fide superstar, and then I zoned out as I looked at the fact that these odds are doubled almost. Or they are
No,
doubled.
I
Oh,
was talking about the Central Division is plus 750 on FanDuel and 10-1 on DK.
okay. Well, the Rocket Richard odds are 15-1 on DraftKings and plus 750. I guess dead heat rules apply, so like it'd be ties, but what the heck? That's
Yeah, their awards models are very different across the two sites. So there are so many instances of this. I think we'll get to
I
one in
don't.
a couple
Yeah,
teams.
I'm gonna keep looking because I don't honestly truly love 15-1, but I definitely don't like plus 750. But okay, yeah, let's keep it moving. I think we're both on the same page, more or less. My next one, and I again didn't shop it, so correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to double check it as well, and then I'm going to completely miss what you're saying, and then think you're talking about what I'm talking about because I guess I have first person syndrome or whatever they call it. Cole Caulfield, shot on goal leader, 40-1. Who says no?
I did look at that one. I'll be honest. I did not side with it eventually.
Because you're a coward.
But yeah, I guess. I don't know. I
It's
just
yeah.
I
think it's
felt
the
like there
same
was
way.
a much better shot on goal guy later on, and I'm sure you'll be able to guess who it is without too much effort. But
I think yeah. Let me just give about this one little piece here. It's
mhm.
that Cole Caulfield 100% has this in his range of outcomes. I don't think anyone would sit here and say that there are, if you sim the season 40 times, does he hit is the question. It's not as much as is he in that conversation as a shooter. It's is Montreal going to have enough offensive opportunity to get him enough of a chance to actually see that kind of an outcome that I do think his profile sets up to be. I think I'm willing to make that bet. I'm not going to put $100,000 on it. I'm going to put like 15, 20, but yeah, it's definitely, if you believe in that top line and their ADPs and what they did at the end of last year, I think Cole Caulfield has a good chance, not a good chance, but a better chance than 40-1.
Yeah, I'm not for it. I'm not against it. That's totally cool. I preferred the under on their just team points. 76.5. I don't know. Especially when Patrick Laine looked like he was gonna the entire season. It was just like, where are these goals coming from that gets them to 80 points? Sure, the top line could be really good, but if everyone's projecting this is the year for Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, Obviously, Tampa, Florida, Toronto, Boston are still there. Like, where are these points coming from? And so I just felt like the under on their point total was in order. So 76.5 on DK. Do it.
Yeah, no. I honestly, that's pretty good as well. I'm just writing that down. But I do like that a lot. I have another under as well for our next team here, and I feel like if I had to guess, you're going to have the same. There's a couple different ways to bet, I think, on Nashville this year in many different capacities, but the pick I had was under Steven Stamkos for 74.5 points. I get the power play role. I don't know if there's two things that could happen here, and both of them I think set up for him to not have the 5-on-5 production that he'll need to reach that, nearly point a game expectation. Number one is Tommy Novak's actually really good at hockey. Is the first assumption you're gonna have to make. I don't buy that. Number two is that if that is the case, or I guess if I'm right about that, and they end up putting Stamkos back as that line one center, is he going to, I guess, be, I don't know. Honestly, I just don't think there's any way he's going to be 75 points. I just think that's an insane number. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. We've talked about Steven Stamkos ad nauseum. I haven't watched I couldn't watch any footage of the Preds game that they just played against Carolina, but this is the first game where they've had everyone who's on their top power play together. So I'm interested to see how it's functioning, how Stamkos is getting his looks, who's going to be the primary puck toucher, because, there's no Kucherov there for Stamkos. Like, how is that going to function? But yeah, that's a pretty easy under, I think. Don't hate it. I had a UC Saros to win the Vezina because I think if Nashville's good, it's not because they're this high flying offensive team, but it's because Roman Yossi, Brady Shea, Ryan O'Reilly, these defensive horses that they have. This team was one of the best expected goals teams in the league last year, both offensively and defensively, especially down the stretch. They just went white hot. Like Colton Sissons driving that shutdown line was just on another planet. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I think Brunette's just a good coach. So UC Saros, I think, is a very good bet to lead the league in starts this year. They just traded Askarov because of it. And so they just gave him a bunch of money, so on and so forth. The Barry Trotz has shown no hesitancy in doing so. It's not like this is a calculated front office. It's Barry Trotz who's just out here vibing, signing big names and whatnot. So I think UC Saros leads the league in starts. If Nashville's as good as they could be, I think UC Saros gets enough wins to be in the Vezina picture. So 15-1 on FanDuel was what I got for UC Saros. I really liked that, and I think it's a good bit different than what's on DraftKings currently.
Yeah, that you kind of mentioned that earlier. That's why I was like, that might be even better
it
than
is,
I thought. But I don't have the Vezina, so I can't even actually see it.
It's 9-1 on DK.
Yeah, never mind. I can't even see it. So what am I saying? I feel like I tried to look into what I could bet for Saros. I didn't think his win total was worth betting personally. It just kind of feels like I think a lot of times with overs on these props, it's when you're making an assumption based on what you believe is going to happen instead of anything mathematically based. And like, I just don't think that you could make a case that bet on UC Saros over like 36.5 wins is like truly like a worthy investment to lock up your money for 9 months. Like that just, no other way to put it.
It's the asymmetrical payout to me that really entices me.
Yeah.
Like, these higher odds, the 15. So, because like obviously to get an over, you're going to need them to stay healthy for a full year. You're going to need the role that you see. But like, obviously there's some value in these longer shots. So like, that's what we're really trying to pick upon here. So let's see, going to New Jersey. I already highlighted. Yep. What do you got?
So I think you could obviously, again, like you just said, you could definitely go another route with this. And I think I just circled the median that was listed at 30.5 goals minus 115 for Timo Meier. The fact that he's just been on Jack Hughes' line and continues to stick on Jack Hughes' line and on the top power play in a spot that I'd like to see it a little bit more. before I believe in what that could be, but I think that's going to be a very nice spot for him to find goals. That's certainly a player that on very bad teams in San Jose could find goals on a power play without talent like Jack Hughes. And again, to confirm what I was already kind of thinking, went over to puckluck.com where he's listed for 40. Now, could you ride him up to 40, get bigger odds and whatnot? Yeah, but I honestly think that 30.5 is pretty sharp to just bet on its own. And I actually think that's a big enough of an edge to lock up your money for an entire season. So I'm betting on Timo season. Bring me home.
Yeah, even if he shoots 8%, if he gets if he gets 300 shots on goal, yeah,
right.
he's gonna be close.
And
So
we went over, I know, I mean, I was mentioned again for anyone new, but we went over this, like his last stretch of last season, the moment they fired Lindy Ruff until the end of the year, he was one of the best fantasy point per game players. It was like top 4 or something. It was ridiculous. Like he was right up there with like McKinnon. It was insane. So like definitely if you need to talk yourself into it for whatever reason, he was just a totally different player after Lindy Ruff went away. And I think Sheldon Keefe is going to produce offense for this team with the way he coaches. So
yeah,
sign me up for Jack Hughes as winger.
We've talked about Dougie Hamilton enough where like I'm not gonna murder the case for him, but he's obviously a great player. He's got next to no competition for his role to start the season. Luke Hughes is out for a while. And when you look at his Norris odds on FanDuel, he's 30-1. On DraftKings, he is 75-1. So yeah, Dougie at 75-1 to win the Norris. That's just it feels real nice. If he could easily lead all defensemen in points this season.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I think he's worthy of betting on. I don't have that listed for me, so I never would have even seen it. I was wondering because I asked Matt who to put on the cover, and Fiala was a no doubter. But when he said Dougie Hamilton, I was like, what's up his sleeve? I'm excited to hear Matt tell me some nonsense. But yeah, I do agree. And like, again, if you could put a bet on underdog, which I hope they bring it back, I think linking those two together, like the goals plus, honestly, you can even do both for points, but probably just goals for Timo. And like Dougie is going to be instrumental in Timo getting there. And I think we forget about how important Dougie is to this team in general. So
and obviously
everyone gets a big boost.
Obviously the odds are totally screwed, for most players because these aren't real. But the odds at 75-1, Brock Faber, Owen Power, Brandon Montour, Mo Sider, Devon Tays, and Dougie Hamilton. Devon Tays. Okay. He plays with Cale Makar. Like, come on. Like, what planet does this make any sense? Luke Hughes, 100-1. I don't know. So yeah, Dougie 75. I think that's a really, really strong one. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, no, I really like that conversation. I said let's try to be done by 10:15. We're not going to get there at this point. There is just no doubt where I was going with the New York Islanders. It was always going to be the case that I was going with Matt Barzal. 80 points plus 200 is what I found, and I didn't shop it much. I just took that for now, and I'm going to look around. I almost am considering going up to 90. I'm almost considering, like, I'm going to kind of play around with this, but I just decided let's just put it here for now. 73.5 is the projectable, like the over under minus 115. Let me just I don't think I looked on FanDuel. Let me just double check. That was only on DraftKings for the 2-1 on 80. But I've made so many cases already all season for why I think this is good. It's plus 190. So I'm going to bet it on DraftKings, but I've made so many reasons for why I think this makes so much sense. And the number one thing about Matt Barzal is that, like, if you think the Islanders are better than the field, which I do, and the media and everyone that talks about how boring they are, which I do, the entire wagon and engine is driven by Matt Barzal and Noah Dobson. So if you can bet it and correlate them together, I think that is like the best way to capture this kind of upside. So again, I didn't get this one in before because I don't think Dobson was offered on Underdog, but I might send a message over and say, like, is this over with? Because I was planning on losing more money on your site. So please open it back up so I can give it to you. But yeah, I really love this one a lot. because Matt Barzal is just another planet. And I love Duclair being that last line made in. I think that was really what they needed, was just one more guy that can score. And yeah, no, I think the sky's the limit for, like, I honestly, like, if he ends this season with under 90 points, I'm going to be upset at myself. And if he ends it with under 80, I'm going to lose money.
Yeah, I actually had a Barzell bet too, but I actually preferred his over on goals. And it's not because I think he's going to be, a sniper. It's because it's only 21.5 on DK.
Yeah, I
He
know.
shot a lot more than his, history might suggest on a, per 60 basis. His iCourse per 60 was in the ballpark of like a Leon Draisaitl. Like, Draisaitl's not going to be an all world shot generator, but he's going to score a bunch of goals. And so, Barzal hasn't hit that number, I don't believe, but with his line, with the influx of shot rate that he had from last year, I am a believer that he can crack 22 goals, more easily than he can get up to like 75 points, which obviously applies a level of health for both. But I think even if he plays like 65 games, that 22 goals is still in
Yeah,
the
I
mix.
added both to my mix and just bet them both right now. They're not parlayable with anything. We have him projected for 29 and 60. That's, 29 and 60 gets you 89. Again, those are the numbers that I believe in. These are very well tested numbers from puckluck.com. And this is not a bull case. This is not, it is like his best case scenario we have is 44 and 110 as like the biggest upside case. This is more of a medium projection. And like, that's enough for me to confirm my biases anyways. And like, watch this man play a game. Like, just, I know the Islanders are boring. Everyone will tell you that. Watch him play and you'll change your tune. At least on him. I'm not saying the Islanders are going to score the most goals in the league, but like, yeah, he is unbelievable. My next one, this one I did bet like 3 or 4 times, but as soon as stuff kind of came out, if we go to the Rangers, and I took the lower on Zibanejad under 77.5 and Kreider under 35.5 goals in like 3 or 4 slips on Underdog the moment those got listed. Don't believe in either of them. Both of them are projectable unders on puckluck.com. I think that line is going to see power penalty kill time. I don't think they're going to see as much run offensively. The only concern with that bet is if Panarin actually is injured, which I don't believe to be the case. But before you click on that, I would definitely give it another check just to make sure. But we have Zibanejad for 65 points. We have Kreider for 35 goals. But again, I think that I know the under 35.5 isn't much of an edge there, but if Zibanejad isn't hitting, I think it's very unlikely that Kreider still hits. He'd need quite an unbelievable run on the power play. So yeah, that's the bet.
Yeah, I tried really hard to find an under on Mika or Kreider that I liked. I just personally thought they were pricing in last year a little bit too much. Like, I don't think Panarin's going to be the all-world goal scorer and that he's going to soak up, everything into his vortex. I think Phil Heedle could be on that first line rather than Riley Smith. That would add an element that, actually helps them. I just felt like there were more ways to lose with betting against Mika at this point than there was anything else. I also tried to find an over on Adam Fox that I liked. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I just couldn't get there. So I copped out over 100 points, or over, I guess, 100.5. I went with that. I don't feel strongly about it, but certainly the Sharks are in the water. If Mika's looking bad to start the year, it might be just all systems go. A stacking against Rangers type deal, because they should have a lot of fun with that Panarin line on the ice.
Yeah.
And if Mika's not going like last year, they could be pretty rough defensively as well.
Yeah, I think again, I think that the thing about the Rangers is like, if one of the things that you want to have happen when they're players, someone else is being punished or rewarded. So that's how I got like last year, if you would have bet on the entire Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere line for their overs, that all got there together. So again, I don't even know. I don't want to make that bet again. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they've cooked that into a little bit too much. But I do actually think there's something to the fact that Zibanejad has lost a pretty large step, and that Kreider is eventually going to fall off a bit more than just a little bit at a time. And that's a 35 is nothing to scoff at. So yeah, we can move past it though. And eventually, like Lafreniere should be on the top power play. Like, who's going to go off of it? I know it's probably not going to be either of them initially, but if either of them are playing bad, eventually they'll move. Ottawa's really tough, and I think some of the odds were down when I was looking. So I was going to let you take that first, unless if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, I didn't have anything from the Ottawa perspective. Obviously, they acquired Ullmark, one of the more significant moves across the NHL this offseason. Otherwise, not a ton has changed for them. Crucially, Josh Norris is back in the fold, at least, in our eyes here. I kind of like under Tim Stützle at 86.5 points, and that's before the injury. I think he's fine. You watch the slow-mo of the hit from last night, and Jack Eye kind of tries to chicken wing him. Doesn't really hit him. He hits his stick and kind of hits his middle of his chest, and it gets compressed against his chest and snaps into his face. The stick does, and so he got cut. And I think it was precautionary. I don't think we've seen an update though. If Tim Stützle is confirmed to miss time, that under is an absolute smash in my opinion. But again, I think he's fine. It's more just an issue of the last time we saw Josh Norris healthy for about 3 weeks. So stand down, Josh and Cliffy. If Josh, if you're still in here, stand down. Josh Norris was actually on the power play over Tim Stützle for a stretch.
Yeah,
we're kind of assuming that Tim Stützle is their number one without a doubt. I don't think the front office sees us that way. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe we're wrong for our Josh Norris love. But I feel like a bet against Tim Stützle is kind of a bet on Josh Norris as well. Just because if he's doing the stuff that made him an almost 40 goal scorer before all the injuries, he could very well sort of take over that power play in a way that just doesn't allow for anyone else to breathe, even if Tim Stützle is not the one being directly replaced on it.
Yeah. I mean, the only bet I could find for Jake Sanderson, this is what I did write down, was Jake Sanderson bet points, and it was 50 plus 260. I don't think that's unbelievably bad. I don't know if I'm gonna actually click on it though. I think there's probably better bets on the board. That feels like a bet you make because you feel like you have to make a bet rather than this is a better or worse bet than something else. Trying to find what we have for that man, Jake Sanderson. But top power play, and I guess the case we're making here for him is no matter who are the guys on that top power play, if they have their best 5 guys and he's a part of that, which it sounds like he is. We only have him for 46, but again, it's plus 260. I don't think it's wrong. I don't know. Player to play 20 plus minutes of ice time average. But I don't even understand what this bet is, but it's 10-1. Players must play 20 plus games to be eligible to win. Ice time. Is this the ice time leader for the league? I've never even seen this. I never even saw this right now.
On what site?
What? FanDuel. Regular season. I didn't. Yeah, ice time leader.
Where is it?
FanDuel regular season average.
What's it
ice
under?
Time leader. That's what it's under player awards for me. That's what it says, and it says he's 10-1 to lead the NHL in average ice time. Cale Makar, Rasmus Dahlin, Seth Jones, Sanderson, Brock Faber, John Carlson. I never saw this.
I can't find it, so I must not have it.
I think the 50 points is better, but yeah, that I never even noticed this could have existed. Okay, I will circle back to that maybe on my own time, but that's weird. I just didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
I just looked up his name, and that was
is it spelled out time on ice?
Time on ice leader. I mean, just type in Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, I don't have it. So
okay. Yeah, 10-1. But again, he's literally the third best odds in that category. Then to get 50 points on a team that
sounds, I
don't think it's a good bet. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's likely to win that as much as I'm if the books are close on that, 50 points, he's not gonna get 50 points. He I don't know, but whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting one. I would be careful, not to you, but just in general. I'm guessing a lot of that comes from historically Thomas Chabot played so much time on ice that they're just saying Ottawa's a team where their number one plays a ton. I would look into Travis Green's history. I would check, how it actually looks like in the preseason, as silly as that
Yeah.
sounds, because it's not crazy for me to, or it's not crazy in my head that like, you know, Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson, even though they're playing separately, are like top 10 in that stat just because, they have no third pair. So I don't know, just so some intrigue for sure. I'm interested to dig into that one if it gets posted for me. But moving on to Philadelphia, I think we
Mm.
know who we're betting on. The best way to bet on Matvey Michkov that I found, over 48.5 points is listed on both DK and FanDuel. FanDuel is minus 114 though, on DK it's minus 130. Michkov to get 80 points is 22 to 1. That feels really nice to me. I don't know. Point per game is obviously a lot to ask right out of the bat for a rookie, but I've covered all the reasons why he's not just a regular rookie. He was in a professional league. He is a couple years older than most rookies that we see joining the NHL. And he was unbelievable in that other league, the KHL. So I like the upside bet more than just a median bet, but both of those just feel too low. I think a median would be fair at like 40 or 58.5 versus 48. So I like both. I'll probably be wagering on both at some point here in the next 5 days.
Yeah. I jammed 50 on the 46.5 over for his points when it first got listed. I put another, I think 75 or 100 on different underdog slips when it first got listed. So I think I'm well stocked on his point total, 46.5. Now it's 48.5. I'm not saying that's an edge that I'm never, I'm not patting myself on the back and counting my Sklansky bucks too much. But the one thing that I did find that is a similar vein to you is like, why is he plus or 5 to 1 for 30 goals when he's listed at 23.5? Like, he needs 6 more goals. Like, again, like you're looking at the bull case for him on FanDuel. Like, you're saying, okay, like he is going to get 50 points, right? That, again, just do the math in your head. Like, what kind of player is he, first off? Like, I think he's a goal scorer. Like, I don't know if that's going to be, and again, like we've seen this with players in the KHL that like they come over and it's like it's hard to know. But I think in his range of outcomes, if you're saying 80 points for sure, is 30 goals. You bet 20 goals, it's minus 250. You bet 30, it's 5 to 1. You bet his median, it's like I said, it was 23.5, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to find it again, but whatever. It's something like that. It's like 23.5, 24.5. But for some reason, he's 5 to 1 for 30. Like that just seems like it doesn't make like my brain doesn't think that makes sense, at least. Like if you actually say like so like the value of every goal after that seems to be magnified a lot. And if we're bullish on him, why not bet on that way was my takeaway. The longest way of saying that I'm gonna put $25 in him to score 30 goals.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Michkov. Okay. Moving on to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh ships out Riley Smith. They bring in, they brought in a number of guys, I guess, that could be relevant, but probably
Real
not.
players.
What?
I said they're real NHL players.
Yeah, Cody Glass, Rutger McGroarty. I don't think we've seen McGroarty gone to AHL yet. So anyway, I'm betting on a guy who did this last year. He did this, I believe, the year before that. Let me just click on Mr. Whatever. Natural Stat Trick does not want to load for me today. Yeah, dating back to the missed season, of course. Evgeny Malkin has missed several games in a lot of years, but he's gone over 25.5 goals in each of the last two, where he's played all 82 games. Evgeny Malkin over 24.5 goals. They had the league's worst power play last year based on expectations, and the third worst based on their actual goal scoring. Like they were supposed to be a fine power play. They had Sidney Crosby playing at his seemingly close to his best. They had Erik Karlsson. They could not buy a damn goal. So you're telling me that Evgeny Malkin beat this total last year. He should get at least a handful extra goals from the power play just becoming average, if not, good, because it should be good. I don't know. I love Evgeny Malkin to bounce back in that way. He's the guy who's going downhill to take the shots on the power play. Um, I think, the loss of Jake Gensel, someone's got to score the goals. I think there's a lot of reasons that some offensive production shifts onto Evgeny Malkin's stick that more than offset the age-related decline that should, take hold for him, even him.
Yeah, I went, I guess, a similar way of thinking, and Brian Rust, 60 points plus 150, and I didn't shop it. I just wrote down the first one because I was running out of time. We have him for like 64, I think, on Puck Luck. I just, again, I feel like if you're talking about a guy that's glued to Sidney Crosby, why not Brian Rust to get 60 freaking points? He's definitely shown it before. I don't see why he couldn't bring it back again.
Yeah. I actually looked at him in that exact same way. I was shocked to find out 58 points is his career high. It just feels like he's a better player than that. But every year he's like 50, 55, 58. So, it's not crazy, without Gensel, that more offensive production, so on and so forth. Because now he truly has that bona fide role that he just didn't have. He had in spurts, of course. But
I know. I feel like this is one, by the way, I guess I'll caveat it by saying I don't think I'm actually going to bet it because I don't know. It just doesn't really quite tickle my fancy enough. Like, I don't think it's a huge edge or anything for plus 150, but that was my favorite. There's probably unders that exist here that I like. I think that, like, if you actually have stones, you could bet Crosby under in a big way. Just on the he's getting old and could get injured type of situation, but he's still Sidney Crosby. Like, I don't think you need to do that, but like, if you could find a big enough under on him and like the team, and like, especially if you could like put that together, like if Crosby misses a big chunk of the year, like everyone on that team fails. So it's like, I think you could, like, if you could parlay that together somehow and get like some crazy odds, like that's an interesting way of doing things. But again, I can't, and I don't know how to figure that out anyways. And I'm not gonna, but, move on to the
San
next
Jose.
bet.
San Jose brings in, they bring in the number 1 overall pick, Macklin Celebrini. They're also bringing in Will Smith, who signs out of college. They bring in Tyler Toffoli, Alex Wenberg, Jake Wallman, Askarov, Cody Ceci. There's going to be a lot of new faces in this lineup where the team shouldn't be as anywhere close to as much of a joke as it was last year. And in fact, I think they'll be kind of fun. Obviously, this took a huge concern last night when Celebrini left the game injured. He played a couple shifts after he suffered his lower body injury, so I think he's okay. But, never a great sign when Macklin Celebrini is missing time. But so I had over 52.5 points. I think that the rookie point models are overlooking just how special this Calder class is. Obviously we've seen it from like Logan Stankoven at the NHL level, but like, this crop of like top 4 to 5 guys, I think is something that we really haven't seen. And I just don't think that the models are properly accounting for the roles and the talent that these high-end guys have. So Celebrini over 52.5 was my bet here, but I'm definitely holding steady with the news.
First, and Malik just reminded me, and the reason I put Tristan Jarry in here is to remind everyone that Nedeljkovic was week to week, and that I would be grabbing more Jarry, especially in drafters, as I finish up my process. I only have a couple left I'm going to do, but I think he's like instantly more valuable over there, where when you're right and he hits that right percentile, that like the outcome now, that way he gets to the outcome where he is really valuable in, I guess, really both formats, but I think drafters, it just gets magnified a touch more, just got increased a little bit more. We're actually going to hit that top 20%. His win total is fine as well. I think it was like 23.5 or something. We had met like 24, 25. For Macklin Celebrini, I actually went the other way and bet the under 25.5 goals. Just for a few reasons. One is the one area where rookies struggle the most when they come into the league is scoring at the NHL level. It's been, you can say how special of a talent he is, and I think he is a lot better than maybe some are considering, but Tyler Toffoli is not a great distributor of the puck. It feels completely vague who that last winger in is going to be, but if it's Klim Kostin, I'm not incredibly optimistic that that's going to lead to a lot of success for him to find more goals. We'll see. But I bet the under 25.5 quite a bit again in these slips I've been discussing that I did tweet them. So but like when things initially came out, I thought 25.5 under, and it's definitely a, maybe a bit of making an assumption, but I think that that's the right way of doing it, is like, and I honestly think he could hit his over on points because of Tyler Toffoli scoring and then not score. We have him for
I like
24 goals, by the way. So, but I think that that's, again, like, keep it moving though.
He did shoot a lot in college. He's nowhere close to Cutter, so like that's the line of delineation between like the rookie goal leader and everything else. I'm very interested to see how he plays at the NHL level, because he looks a little better than Matty Beniers in that sense. But I could see him being, not quite a clone, because I think he's just straight up better than Beniers. But like, in the same reign of, he shot a lot in college, but he profiles as more of a pass first NHL center who can score. He's going to be awesome. But yeah, I like that. It feels a little misbalanced between the goals and the points, goals and the assists based on the point props. So St. Louis, St. Louis, I think
not really, but if you want.
Seattle. Yes, you're right. Seattle. SE, SA, ST, who knows what the hell St. Louis actually is. Seattle. They bring in Brandon Montour. They bring in Chandler Stevenson. They don't lose a ton. Justin Schultz, Thomas Tatar, Kelly Yamamoto. Crucially, they fired their coach. Finally, Dave Axel, run, bye, get out of here.
Never come back.
Oh no,
never come back.
Dan Bilesman's their coach now.
I'm not mad about that. Why are you mad about that?
I want to like it. Well, I mean, we saw what he did with Jack Eichel.
The Thunderbirds. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. The Thunderbirds were fun, and that's the only way I can be like, okay, he's changed.
People can change.
Yeah. I'm not positive though, because tonight's lines were Beniers, McCann, and Eberle. Just right back to the hits, baby. Jordan Eberle. So yeah, I did not have much that I was excited by here. I wrote down Eeli Tolvanen and DFS. We actually do have pricing for Seattle because they open in St. Louis on that Tuesday. And just scrolling through Seattle's pricing, obviously you bettors don't really care about this, but McCann is 6,200, Bjorkstrand 5,500, Eberle 43, Jaden Schwartz 4K, Eeli Tolvanen is 3,700. Just feels too cheap for a guy who is a one-shot scorer in this league. I don't know how the power plays are going to wind up. Is he going to get power play one time? Are they going to have a power play one, or are they going to do the same, splitting down the middle bullshit with Vince Dunn and Brandon Montour each getting a minute on each power play? I have no idea. But because of the price disparity, I'm at least going to be betting on Eeli Tolvanen early in hopes that his one-shot one-timer can actually sort of build, lock in his 1A power play usage.
Yeah, I looked up and down this team, and I came up with an incredibly small amount of things that I liked enough to actually bet. I think the answer is I'm not betting anything, but I do like the over 21.5 wins for Joey Decord. I think this team is actually like the bet I was going to make is over on points. 87.5 is tough. I'd rather just take Joey Decord over 21.5 wins. I think he gets 50 starts. I really do. I'm drafting him like you're going to get 50 starts. I think he could be around 500. That's the bet I'm making here. Because the thing, and honestly, I did take a look at, I didn't shop it at all, but FanDuel did have 3+ regular season shutouts. I think the one area where this team is improving, and it might not meet the eye as much as you'd think, is actually defensively. Not because Brandon Montour is going to make them way better in their own zone, but they needed more players that can move the puck out of their zone. I think they were already fine defensively as a team. They just couldn't move the puck as efficiently as you'd like. I think that all of that will come together and make this team better defensively and better at just puck possession, really is what I'm looking for here. And I think Joey Decord will benefit from that, but I think the way to bet it is just over 21.5 wins for him. I don't think gun to head that's actually a great bet. I think it's fine. Like, I think you're going to be literally hoping that last week of the season that they're fighting for a playoff spot, and Joey Decord is part of the reason to get you home. But I don't think it's wrong to say he gets 22.
Yeah. At 5-on-5 last year, they were the 5th best team in goals against per 60 minutes, and they were 7th best in expected goals against. And trading out Justin Schultz for Brandon Montour, they're similar
Yeah.
style players in that they're not moving the needle defensively in a huge way. That's a massive upgrade. So yeah, bringing in
He
Chandler
can possess the puck
Stevenson,
better. That's
they're
it.
gonna
And
have
Chandler's, yeah.
yeah, they're gonna have 4 good lines that can control play. I think that shutouts bet is also pretty interesting. Just
Yeah.
saying, like, yeah,
7 to
maybe they're
1
a
for
boring
3.
team. Yeah,
That's kind of and that's exactly how I feel about them, which is why it's hard to pick an over. And like then again, it's like,
all right.
what's the under you're picking out of the 4 guys? It's like I think you could find a way to get yourself there, but yeah, I think that those are the two. I think it's Decord how you bet this team.
Yeah,
and then daily
I have
fantasy hockey. Oh,
what do you got?
No, I was just saying you could bet on like Jordan Decord daily fantasy.
Yes,
And then
that was the end of a sentence. Okay.
That was it.
Speaking of that opening day game, I can bet where you're going to go on the St. Louis Blues, given your off-season video. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, you should scroll back on DJ's YouTube channel here and watch his top pairs. He did a great job outlining the case for, I'm guessing, who he's going to come up with here. But yeah, St. Louis brings in Broberg and Holloway. That famous offer sheet game. Let's see. They didn't lose all that much. Kevin Hayes is gone. Jake Vrana, if you really cared about that. But it's largely the same team that they ended the year with. I poked around on Jake Neighbors. Could I find anything there? I don't know. I couldn't find anything I liked betting wise. I did notice, though, that in DFS, that opening slate, Justin Falk is less expensive than Colton Parayko. Okay, so I guess I'll be betting on Justin Falk early in the season because he's going to be their number one on the power play. He's probably going to block a bunch of shots, and he's going to shoot. This guy likes to shoot the puck. He's not adverse to it. So yeah, I think Justin Falk is a great sort of mid 4K option for the first week of the DFS season. So that's how I'll be betting on the stupid St. Louis Blues, who I don't love.
Well, it's okay to be wrong. I would bet Jordan Kyrou anywhere, in any time, in any place. I bet him high. I bet him low. I bet him fast. I bet him slow. I bet him in. I'd read a Dr. Seuss book of how I'd be betting Jordan Kyrou. Him and Matt Barzal are the guys that I'll be betting on. I will just say that I think the over 31.5 goals is the easiest way to get a little action if you just want something to go off of, if you just want something to go on. But you could convince me on anything with him. I'd probably look around a little bit more. I'm not an insane person. I'm not betting him to like win an award or anything. I just think that Robert Thomas is one of our more gifted playmakers in the league. And Jordan Kyrou is going to benefit because he's probably one of the better finishers that just hasn't quite come all the way together yet. So I'm going to be betting on that coming together. And maybe if this happens, let's say Jordan Kyrou scores 50 this year, I want to just say this. I will have to get an NHL job in scouting because I would go back to back on basically being like Philippe Forsberg, one of the best. He's going to score 50. And then Jordan Kyrou, and then they'd call me and I'd say Daniel Sprong. And then is the next guy.
And then you get fired immediately.
And then I'd be fired immediately. Yeah. So
it's that meme where the office dude just gets thrown out of the window in the conference room. Just like, yeah. That's how teams react when they hear Daniel Sprong's name.
Yeah. So yeah, I again, all of that comes together into a nice, cohesive, fun bet that I'll be making.
7 left. Can we do this, DJ?
Yeah, I have so much shit to do tonight still, and it's 10:30 already. So I have to pack for Pittsburgh. I have to draft teams.
All right.
Let's finish this up.
They bring in McDonough. They trade Mikhail Sergachev. They bring in Jake Gensel. They lose Steven Stamkos. Yeah, pretty clear 1-for-1s there as far as what they're doing, how they're going to try and fill these voids. A bet that I saw that I kind of liked. Brandon Hagel, 55 plus assists, plus 550. Very pleasant, plus 550, 55. I don't know, a lot of fives in there. But Hagel's awesome. I get that he's not starting the year on that top line with Gensel, Point, Kucherov. Like, it's going to be hard for him to crack that. But he came close last year. I want to say might have even beat it last year, 55. But also last year he didn't have a power play role, and this year he will. I think his we're struggling through some power play stuff right now with Cam Atkinson and
Yeah.
Darren Radish currently filling the Steven Stamkos role. But I think they're going to go back to the Andre Palat type role where, just forget the one-timer, guys. It's fine. You'll live without it. You have Nikita Kucherov. It's fine. Okay. That aside, I can't promise you that he's going to be power play one. I think he'll be power play one. And because of that, I think he'll be, largely passing to guys like Jake Gensel, Braden Point, for those tap-in type deals. So I like his assist props a lot. I'll be betting those early in the season with his power play one job because he's a great player, and I just don't think that those odds properly reflect his point per game type upside that he has.
Yeah. I was honestly like, I didn't have anything here that I'm actually going to click on and bet. I think that you could make a case for a number of guys, but again, like when you're making a case for Kucherov, they're together. Like that is Kucherov, Gensel, Point. You're making that bet together. If you cannot find it on Prize Picks or Underdog, I don't think you should just do it on its own. They're pretty freaking nuked. But I like Hagel as well. I think if we get confirmation, he's definitely power play one. I would take a look at 7-1 that he gets 90 plus points. Just not sure if that's the bet I'm going to end up placing, but like this is one of our most elite 5-on-5 producers of points. If he's on that top power play, like I think there is a better than 7-1 chance that he could get up to that kind of a watermark. Without it, it's unbettable. And the problem is we really have no idea right now. So what are we really doing here? Like, I just don't think there's anything on the board. But yeah, I definitely got to keep it moving. So I'll get to teams that are more fun, like to Toronto. And honestly, I'm not even going to say, I'm just going to keep talking to you because I want you to tell me. I was trying to find it and I just don't have it, but it sounds like you do. I wanted Mitchell Marner for assists at like 150 or like, I was like, where can I get Mitchell Marner to have like the most assists? It's not anywhere for me. There's no assists for the season. Like,
let me see
just
where
points,
I think
points, goals.
it was a team special on Hagel.
It was.
No,
oh,
maybe it was. It's not there anymore. So maybe I just I caught these Monday night.
I was thinking about going back to the Marner is where everything kind of came together for me.
Let me see. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I like him for like 94.5 was the point total. Which I feel like is not insanely good, but not bad. Like we have him for, what do we have him for? 99, right? Like and again, that's like a medium projection. Like, and I think that's around correct. 94.5. It's like, you're not going to get a ton here. I just think that assists is where he gets his bread and butter, and they normally don't break it off too hard.
Yeah, it is on team specials, Tampa for Brandon Hagel. Mitch Marner assists is not listed. Yeah. So
okay, I couldn't find it. I was hoping because I was thinking like, wait, so they have him for 30.5 goals, 94. Like, give me 70 plus assists. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of where my head was going. But because we had him for 64 assists. I don't know, whatever. But yeah,
I gotta say, I don't. This is not the bet that I have. But Mitch Marner's 60-1 on just the Art Ross feels fine. I mean, he's really.
He has been so bashed by the media to a point of like we've gone insane. Like this is what top 5 player or probably top offensive player in the league. He's probably top 5. Like I really think he's that good. Maybe top 10.
My bet. You don't even got to think about it. The Rocket Richard Matthews is plus 135, but over 55.5, like as his normal line, it's just a smash over. Like you don't got to worry about Pasternak or Draisaitl or McDavid or McKinnon going, nuke. Like just 55.5 goals. He had 69 goals in 81 games last year. Like you got to, and there was nothing unsustainable about last season for Austin Matthews. Like the shots were there, the finishing ability, the expected goals, the danger of his, like he had an unbelievable season, but there was nothing unsustainable about it. So yeah, that's like one of the safer over player bets that I can think of in a long time. He's going to have to miss like 15 games before I start really sweating that one.
Honestly, that's better. And I'd like to put both of them together, please. Marner over 60 assists and Matthews over 50 something goals, please. And thank you. If you're not busy, let's get to the Utah Hockey Club.
They bring in
that plays hockey.
They bring in Mikhail Sergachev. They bring in John Marino. Sounds like they have a real defensive core now. That's cool. They don't lose a ton. I guess they traded Connor Geeky and JJ Moser to get Sergachev, but like, yeah, this team is building. They will continue to build. I'm going to guess you're going to tell me about Mr. Dylan Gunther and maybe his over 55.5 point prop.
Yeah, and the thing is no matter what I could come around to in a circle, the point prop just stood out like more somehow. Yeah, that's interesting too. But
I just saw that. That sounds really good.
yeah,
I don't have it confirmed right now. But
I'm not sure if Aaron's the same person that brought up the Vladar bet, but Vladar was like, I think he said he was like 8-1 or 9-1 to start the first game.
Really?
So check Vladar too. I don't have bets 365. I think Matt might actually. So
I don't think I do. I think it's only in New Jersey.
Well, Matt might take a trip over the freaking the river or whatever.
It is a river.
It was something weird like that. I just look it up if you have it in you. Yeah, the 55.5 I think is just the best bet on the board for him. You can bet him plus 30 goals at plus 190. I do like. I mean, again, he's playing kind of a Stamkosian type of spot on that power play, and I think they see him as a goal scorer. And if he hits that type of outcome of 55.5 points, like 30 goals is there, but I think he's a more gifted all-around talent than just a guy that's going to have 30 goals and 25 assists type of a projection. So I think you just take the safe route here. One of the biggest slam dunks, I think on the board is that 55.5 over. At Matthews one, honestly, I kind of feel like I got a little bit too stuck on Marner. That one feels really good. Paterka feels really good. Jarvis, like those are the ones I think that are just like kind of unequivocal add to your mix. If you're going to bet anything, if you're picking 5 of them, I think this is just in the top 5, that 55.5 over. Every smart person in the industry is on it. Every person that is even not the smartest person in the industry seems to have come around on it. People that didn't know he existed are learning very quickly that he exists and is one of the best players. And the models haven't really caught up, I think, how good he is. Your turn, Matt.
Yeah, just we're not going to talk about Dylan Gunther. We cannot. He's too good. Whatever. If you want to listen to Dylan Gunther talk, find the Hockey PDO cast. They did play our guys, I think it's called. Dim Filipovich. It's an awesome podcast. If you like hockey, just like people who are nuts about hockey and just insane nerds about it, basically. They nerd about Dylan Gunther and Logan Cooley for like 7 minutes. It was incredible. Yeah, he's awesome. I would guess it's at worst a coin flip. Again, we haven't seen any news, so like make sure you're not missing like the 5 minutes ago type conversations with the GM. But like everything we have is that they're looking at Vladar as their number 1 going into the year, and that it was more of a backup competition between Wolf and Cooley. Again, could have changed. You're still betting, but like that feels like really good odds. I can't find it. I looked at Bet365. He's also Steven's here saying it's on FanDuel. I can't see that either, so I just might not have access to it. But yeah, both Decord and Vladar feel pretty solid bets in that respect.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. So Hockey PDO cast for more Gunther talk. Great. Vancouver. So Vancouver brings in Jake DeBrusk. They signed Daniel Sprong. You will never guess who those guys are both playing with to start the regular season. And that would be Elias Pettersson, who is listed at over 90.5 points. Gosh, like my initial, just sort of off the top of my head, best puck rankings had Pettersson at 12. Obviously, that didn't happen ADP wise, and I don't have like 60% of him, so obviously I've come off it a bit. But I still do believe that the Pettersson chatter from last year, the leg injury, is just really overlooking how dominant a force he is. And if he gets actual line mates to play with, I think it could be wheels up for him. So, yeah, I really like that over on Pettersson. But frankly, it'll be mostly a bet in DFS for me there, where I'll just be playing him to Brusque Sprong, as early and as often as I can if that line holds.
Yeah, I'm incredibly like the thing. I mean, you could bet Sprong for 20 plus goals at plus 115, but again, I just feel like if you're gonna make anything stupid like that, and just bet on Elias Pettersson, just do whatever you want. Bet on him to have 110 points if you think he's, so talented he could lift everyone around him to whatever level of like, I don't care how you bet it, just bet it. I think Pedersen is a smash for whatever you want to bet him for. 40 goals, 90 points, whatever. Like I love him. And the best way to probably do it is in daily fantasy or to get a little bit more exposure to him in best puck. Yeah, I really got to get moving here. So let's get through the last couple teams. Vegas, I actually did decide to get weird on, and I did put $20 on Victor Olofsson to score 20 goals at plus 350. He really exists only to score goals. He is with Jack Eichel at 5-on-5. That seems to stick. Bruce Cassidy was very happy about that pairing. I listened to an entire interview, his press conference, and he was saying like they had chemistry in Buffalo. They were amazing together. They love playing together. Why would I not put them together? That's what they want to do. If Jack Eichel is getting there, which I think everyone believes he's going to, I think Victor Olofsson scoring 20 goals, regardless of power play time, which I don't even think is completely out of the question that he could find a spot on one of the two units. I believe he's probably
He's
penciled
already
in some.
he's already locked into the first unit right now.
That's what it seems to me as well. So 20 plus goals at plus 340. I just said, that's what 350. I'll be taking that, sir.
Yeah, if he struggles, obviously William Karlsson could be there, but Karlsson's not much of a one-timer threat, and Olofsson definitely is. So yeah, I like that. I couldn't find anything bets wise I liked, but I'm betting on the Olofsson Hannafin pairing early and often. Like even if I'm not playing Jack Eichel in DFS, I will still be finding those two guys because I think they'll be underpriced to start the year, and I'll just be going down for the first like 5 games, 10 games, just betting on those two guys in my DFS lineups. So Winnipeg here, longtime fans of the show know that I'm not a huge fan of Nick Ehlers. Just actually, I guess whatever. We're doing Winnipeg first because the stupid abbreviation is first when you do them alphabetically.
Let's go.
Winnipeg. They lost Tyler Toffoli. They lost Sean Monahan off of their last year's closing team. Well, who's going to fill those power play jobs? Looks like, Gabe Vilardi was filling one already, but Nick Ehlers is the other guy right now. Who knows how long it lasts? Who knows if day one he's good? But right now, Nick Ehlers over 57.5 points. It feels like half the games he'll get 0, and in the other half he'll get like 2. He'll average 1.5 points. So I'm not betting on him in my DFS lineups. But as far as the season long, where I just get all of his games smushed together with the idea that he's going to be power play 1, just cross your fingers, hope that sticks. If that sticks, he's a lock to get over 57.5. He's really good in that respect. He's just not reliable on a night-to-night basis, unfortunately. So what do you got for Winnipeg?
So I needed to reconfirm all my priors, and I took a look at what Puck Luck had again for Gabriel Vilardi for goals. I want you to take a guess. What do you think that is?
26.
38. He is 5-1 to have 30 plus goals on FanDuel. And for some reason, when I clicked on Olofsson and Vilardi, it let me parlay that together. 26-1 that Olofsson has 20 and Vilardi has 30. 20 pays $540.
There you go.
I'm already up $500 on the season. It hasn't even started.
All right. Yeah, we love Gabe Vilardi around here. Final team, Mr. Washington. Honestly, all the OV props feel a little juiced, which maybe is a warning signal to me because, I'm like all bullish on OV over here. But 10-1 that he beats the record this year feels about right. I'm not going to say it's much greater than that, but I think that's the most it's an even neutral EV type bet. I like that. I'll also probably put a Schmeckel down on Ovi at 100-1 for most shots in the NHL. I know that he really fell off last year in that respect, but he was still pretty good in that regard. And the team around him is getting a lot better. They bring in Pierre-Luc Dubois to create offensively. His center for most of last year was Hendrix Lapierre. Kuznetsov missed time. Strome did not spend a ton of time with him, especially late. So it was just a real tough go of things. And I think that, Connor McMichael should step up. There's no TJ Oshie to drag around. So, Jake Chikrin, just, Matt Roy, their blue line gets better. there could be more shots. And so Ovi 100-1 to lead the league in shots. I liked okay as well.
I really did like that one a lot as well. But I decided to do the thing that I was obviously always going to do. Dylan Strome is another one of the biggest edges for puck luck for everything, but 87 points is what we have over on puckluck.com. 63.5 is what the sportsbook have. That's a pretty big gap. I think he gets there a number of different ways. I think he's very underrated as a goal scorer. He's very important on that power play. There's a reason that, like there was a time where Ovi was getting more assists than goals, which hasn't happened. And I don't remember. And that's because Dylan Strome is, I think, that good. They're going to be paired together with Mangiapane. I know that Mangiapane doesn't, make it move a ton, but like he's better than what they had, as you're kind of saying. It's not a corpse. He's actually a hockey player that can play. I think it's kind of wheels up on Dylan Strome, and I think that 63.5 is another one of the probably top 10 best bets we've given all day.
Yeah, nothing bad to say about Dylan Strome here. What are your thoughts on the Canucks to miss the playoffs plus 220 with all the issues with Demko? I'm not someone who's going to overreact to goalie news, in all honesty. Like, we say goalies are all that matter in best puck, but like, frankly, I don't really care who the starting goalie is. I just want workloads in that respect. So like, yeah, Demko's a good goalie, but like Shilov's could be, Lankinen could be. I wouldn't overvalue Demko all that much. That's just me, though.
I think that's I think the reason you make that bet is you say last year was an outlier more than you say that goalie problems are going to sink their ship. And I just think that they were actually very good. But I'm just not interested in it. I don't know. The thing is it let me do that Velarde Olofsson thing, and then I tried to do more and it wasn't letting me. I'm gonna have to look into it. I have to go. If I don't sign off now, I'm literally not going to bed tonight or getting any more of my best puck drafts in. So I just don't have time to play this game, unfortunately. But I'll post a few things on Twitter.
Yeah, the others I had for goals were Aho, Barzal, and Malkin. So there, have at those. But yeah, let's get out of here. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at MoneySkatePod. I'm at Fake Moods. You just at DJ_Mitchell94. Pop in the Discord if you want to talk more of the season-long props. DM one of us if you don't have the link to that. Or just tweet at us, if you want to talk hockey. Though if you want me, you're more likely to get me on Discord than on Twitter. But yeah, DJ's always online. So yeah. Noah, go back. We covered all of our bets there. I don't. We got to get out of here. So, DJ, who's your Stanley Cup winner this year? That's how we'll close it out.
Yeah, we didn't do any of that stuff with the rankings or anything. And honestly, I feel like it was just going to be us arguing over a bunch of nonsense, and none of it matters. Yeah, every year I pick a Stanley Cup winner that either makes it to the conference final or makes it all the way to the cup. Last year, I just put the Edmonton Oilers cap on and went running. This year, of course, the Buffaloes. I'm just kidding. I think this year, I think I'm actually going to go with Dallas. I'm gonna ride the Stars.
Okay, I do like that. Let's do Toronto 15-1. Finally, they bring in Chris Tanev. He's really good. So hey, maybe that's the push they needed to be better. But yeah, let's close it out. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Sorry we couldn't stay on here for another 6 hours, but yeah, it's been 2 hours. We got to get out of here. So with all that said, be sure to subscribe to the Morning Skate podcast, where you can listen to this in audio form, and you'll also get all of our DFS content. That'll start next week. So we'll be back in our true grind in what we were really put on this earth to do, which is play daily fantasy hockey. And I cannot wait. All right, DJ, any final words?
Go Sabres.
Awesome. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a good regular season, everybody, and we will see ya.